Subscribe to Psychology in Minutes. If you like daily relevant psychology content, what if you could recognize a manipulator before they ever gained your trust? Imagine meeting someone at work who seems incredibly confident, intelligent, charming, and helpful. They remember tiny details about you. They make you feel important. They seem to understand you almost instantly. You think, wow, I really like this person. But a few months later, something changes. Your boundaries are being pushed. Conversations leave you confused. You start questioning things you clearly remember. Somehow, every conflict becomes your fault. And here's the burning question. How do you tell the difference between a genuinely charismatic person and someone who is strategically charming because they want something from you? Psychology gives us some fascinating clues. Today, we're going inside the Dark Triad: narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. And, more importantly, learning how to recognize manipulative patterns without turning every difficult person into a diagnosis. Because the goal isn't to label people, the goal is to protect yourself. The Dark Triad is a psychological framework describing 3 personality traits: narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. They aren't 3 different types of villains. They're personality traits that can exist to different degrees in people, and having one trait doesn't automatically make someone abusive, dangerous, or manipulative. But when these traits are strong and combined with exploitative behavior, relationships can become extremely difficult. Narcissistic traits can involve things like an excessive need for admiration, a sense of entitlement, and an exaggerated view of one's importance. Think about the coworker who turns every team achievement into a story about themselves. Our team did really well. And somehow the response becomes, yeah, honestly, most of that happened because of me. They may constantly need recognition. And criticism? Even mild criticism can feel like a personal attack. Machiavellianism is different. The focus is more on strategy, manipulation, and gaining control or advantage. Imagine someone at work who rarely openly argues. Instead, they quietly tell one colleague, "I'm not saying anything, but I heard the manager isn't happy with your performance." Then they tell another person, "You probably shouldn't trust them." Suddenly, colleagues who are getting along are suspicious of each other. And the manipulator? They're sitting in the middle. That's triangulation, creating or exploiting tension between people to gain influence. Psychopathic traits are associated with things such as reduced empathy, impulsivity, emotional detachment, and in some cases, manipulative or antisocial behavior. But here's something important. Psychopathy is not simply someone who doesn't care about people. And you absolutely cannot diagnose psychopathy by watching someone's body language or noticing that they're cold during an argument. That's where social media psychology often gets things wrong. The useful question isn't, is this person a psychopath? It's, is this person's repeated behavior exploiting me or violating my boundaries? That's a much safer question. Now let's talk about one of the most confusing parts of manipulation: charm. Because manipulators don't necessarily look manipulative. Sometimes they're incredibly charismatic. They might be funny, helpful, confident, successful, even generous. And this is where the halo effect becomes important. The halo effect is our tendency to let one positive characteristic influence our overall judgment of someone. For example, she's extremely successful, so she must be trustworthy. He's incredibly confident, so he must know what he's talking about. They're so charming, they couldn't possibly be manipulative. But competence isn't character. Someone can be brilliant at their job and still treat people terribly. Someone can be charismatic and still be exploitative. And someone can be incredibly successful while using questionable interpersonal strategies. Here's a relatable example. Imagine joining a new company. Your manager immediately tells you, "I can already tell you're different from everyone else here." You feel seen. Then, "I don't usually trust people this quickly, but I think I can trust you." Now you feel special. Then they start sharing confidential information about other employees. And eventually, I need you to do me a small favor. Don't mention this to anyone. Notice the progression: flattery, special status, secrecy, boundary testing. The important part isn't one sentence, it's the pattern. One of the strongest manipulation patterns people talk about is love bombing. This can happen in romantic relationships, friendships, and sometimes even professional relationships. Someone suddenly gives you enormous amounts of attention, constant messages, huge compliments, promises about the future. I've never connected with anyone like this. You're exactly the kind of person I've been looking for. I feel like I've known you forever. And you might think, finally, someone who gets me. But here's the psychological trap. When attention is intense and emotionally rewarding, it can create a very strong attachment. And if that attention later becomes unpredictable, warm one day, cold the next, the uncertainty itself can keep you emotionally invested. This relates to intermittent reinforcement. It's the same basic learning principle behind why unpredictable rewards can be so compelling. You don't know when the next reward is coming, so you keep checking, keep hoping, keep trying. Maybe they'll go back to how they were, and that can make leaving surprisingly difficult. The lesson: consistency is more informative than intensity. Someone overwhelming you with affection for 2 weeks tells you less about their character than how they treat your boundaries 6 months later. Here's something else people often miss. Manipulation doesn't always begin with something dramatic. It can start with a tiny boundary violation. You say, "I can't stay late tonight." They respond, "Come on, just this once." You say no. They push again. Eventually, you give in. The next time, the request becomes slightly bigger, then bigger again. This is why small boundary violations matter, because the question isn't only, what are they asking me to do? It's, what happens when I say no? That's one of the most useful psychological tests you can use. Healthy people may be disappointed by your boundary, but generally, they can respect it. Manipulative people may punish the boundary. They might use guilt. "I thought you cared about me." Anger. "You're being ridiculous." Victimhood. "Nobody ever helps me." Or pressure. "Fine. I'll just do everything myself." Your boundary becomes the problem. Now let's talk about language, because manipulation often hides inside ordinary conversations. One common example is gaslighting. Gaslighting involves a pattern of psychological manipulation that causes someone to question their perceptions, memories, or understanding of events. Imagine you have a conversation with your manager about a deadline. They clearly tell you, "Send it by Friday." Friday comes. You send it. Then, Monday. "Why didn't you send this Thursday?" You say, "I thought we agreed on Friday." They respond, "I never said Friday. You always misunderstand instructions." One conversation doesn't prove gaslighting. But if this repeatedly happens, especially when there are messages, emails, or other records supporting your memory, it becomes important to pay attention. And this is where documentation becomes powerful. Don't rely entirely on, "But I know what happened." Keep the email, keep the message, send a follow-up. "Just confirming our discussion, I'll submit this by Friday." Now you've turned a vague memory into an objective record. Facts are harder to manipulate than memories. Another tactic you may encounter is what people casually call word salad. Imagine raising a simple concern. "Why did you tell the team I made that mistake?" Instead of answering, the person launches into a 5-minute speech. They talk about your attitude, then your performance, then something you supposedly said 3 months ago, then someone else, then how stressed they are, then how you're being unfair. By the end, you've forgotten the original question. Whether intentional or not, excessive, irrelevant information can increase your cognitive load. And when you're overwhelmed, you become more likely to defend yourself instead of addressing the original issue. So try this. Bring the conversation back to one question. That's separate. "I'm asking about the email you sent yesterday." Stay specific. Stay calm. Don't get dragged into 10 arguments at once. Here's another manipulation pattern that happens everywhere, from workplaces to friendships. Imagine your colleague tells you, "You know, Sarah doesn't really respect you." Then you talk to Sarah. She says, "Actually, I thought you were upset with me." Now both of you are confused. Meanwhile, the person in the middle benefits from your conflict. This is triangulation. It can involve gossip, selective information, competing loyalties, or deliberately creating misunderstandings. And there's a simple way to weaken it. Go directly to the source. Instead of, "What did they say about me?" ask, "I'd rather clarify this directly with Sarah." Manipulation thrives in ambiguity. Direct communication removes some of that space. Here's one of the biggest red flags to watch for. Someone initially tells you, "You're amazing. You're the best person on this team. You're unlike everyone else." Then suddenly, you're incompetent, untrustworthy, useless. The same person who once praised you now treats you like an enemy. This can resemble an idealization-devaluation pattern. It's particularly concerning when the change happens whenever you stop giving the person what they want. For example, you agree with them? "You're brilliant." You disagree? "You clearly don't understand anything." You help them? "You're amazing." You say no? "You're selfish." That tells you something important. Their opinion of you may be conditional on your usefulness to them. And here's something fascinating. Sometimes you can't immediately explain why someone makes you uncomfortable. But you notice your shoulders tense. You start rehearsing conversations before seeing them. You feel exhausted after interacting with them. You constantly worry about saying the wrong thing. You check messages repeatedly because you're afraid of their reaction. These aren't proof that someone is manipulative. You can feel anxious around perfectly safe people too. But they're signals worth investigating. Instead of saying, "My gut says they're evil," ask, "What exactly happened that made me feel unsafe?" That's the difference between intuition and paranoia. Intuition can be the beginning of an investigation. It shouldn't be the end of it. So what do you actually do? First, stop oversharing. You don't owe everyone your deepest insecurities, financial information, family problems, or personal vulnerabilities. Second, set small, clear boundaries. "I can't do that today." "I'm not comfortable discussing that." Please send that request by email. You don't need a 10-minute explanation. Third, document important things, especially at work. Keep communication factual and professional. Fourth, don't play the emotional game. If someone wants a dramatic reaction, don't automatically give them one. This is where the gray rock approach can sometimes be useful with people who repeatedly seek emotional reactions. Keep interactions brief, neutral, and uninteresting, but it's not appropriate for every situation. If someone is abusive, threatening, or has power over you, prioritize safety and appropriate professional or institutional support rather than trying to outmaneuver them. And finally, trust patterns, not promises. Someone can apologize beautifully, someone can explain themselves brilliantly, someone can promise they'll change, but the strongest evidence is repeated behavior over time. So let's come back to our burning question. How do you recognize a manipulator before they gain control? You don't do it by becoming a human lie detector. You don't diagnose strangers. You don't assume someone is a narcissist because they posted a confident selfie. And you definitely don't judge someone based on one awkward conversation. Instead, look for patterns. Does this person repeatedly ignore boundaries? Do they create confusion between people? Do they punish disagreement? Do they take responsibility or constantly shift blame? Does their kindness disappear when you're no longer useful? Do their words and actions consistently contradict each other? And perhaps most importantly, what happens when you say no? Because anyone can be charming when you're giving them what they want. Character becomes much clearer when you establish a boundary. So remember 3 things. Number 1, don't confuse charisma with character. Someone can be incredibly charming and still be unhealthy for you. Number 2, Look for patterns, not isolated signs. One lie doesn't make someone a psychopath. One argument doesn't make someone a manipulator. Repeated exploitation is what matters. And number 3, protect your reality. Write things down. Ask direct questions. Verify information. Maintain boundaries. And trust yourself enough to investigate that uncomfortable feeling instead of immediately dismissing it. Because psychological strength isn't about learning how to manipulate manipulators. It's about becoming harder to manipulate. And once you understand how these patterns work, you stop asking, "How do I make this person like me?" and start asking the far more important question, "Is this relationship healthy for me?" That shift, from seeking approval to protecting your boundaries, can change the way you approach relationships, friendships, and even your career. Subscribe to Psychology in Minutes for more psychology, human behavior, and the science behind the things people do every day.